Hello, folks. Welcome back to my channel. This is the World of TV Shows, and today I finally got another review for Cold Case, and this time we'll be looking at the 9th episode of the first season called Sherry Darlin. The episode originally aired on December 7, 2003 on CBS. It was directed by Rachel Taylor Lay and written by Meredith Stein, as well as Sean Whitesell. So what is this episode about? So in this episode, Detective Lily Rush is going to receive some anonymous phone calls from a confessed murderer. Yes, indeed. And this murder has to do with an elderly woman who was dead, who died in 1989, right? And this older woman actually happened to be the grandmother of a man named James Hogan, who used to live with her grandson, along with his girlfriend named Sherry Fox, right? And basically, she obviously, since she was very old, she required a lot of attention, a lot of help, from her grandson. And, well, he was also, trying to, live independently, but it was a little bit difficult for him. So, yeah, there was some kind of tension since he had to take care of his grandmother. And, she was, as we say, high maintenance, right? She sure was a lot of work. But yeah, basically, yes. So Lily is gonna receive those, strange phone calls, and she's not gonna be able to make heads or tails about it because she doesn't know if this is somebody just fooling around, somebody who just has too much time on their hands, and that somebody who just wants to mess up with the police, some crank calls, something like that, or are they really telling the truth, right? So this is pretty much the big question that is, in our minds as viewers, as well as in Lily's mind. But then eventually she's gonna kind of reopen the case and go back to that house, and an interesting discovery is gonna be made there, and I'll let you find out for yourselves what it is, because I don't want to spoil the episode too much or anything. But basically, we have these newlyweds who live there, and yes, there's a history about that house, but they're gonna allow Lily to take a look, and more precisely to see some, to check out the basement, and there might lie certain, answers, right? So I'll let you find out for yourselves what it is. I think that without telling you too much about it, is better this way so that I don't spoil the episode or anything like that. But what did I think about this episode, Sherry Darlin? This episode was pretty good. I really enjoyed it, especially with the whole kind of new plot, kind of different one, kind of it gives off a different feel to the show, because usually suspects are trying to hide, right? They don't want to be found. But in this alleged criminal is basically coming forward with information that is incriminating to them, right? But is that the truth, or are they telling a lie? Is the information they're giving accurate or not? So this is the main question, right? And the question that Lily is gonna try to, bring an answer to. So I really enjoyed this whole kind of detective work. This kind of a little bit like Hannibal Lecter in Silence of the Lambs in a way. Leaving some breadcrumbs, leaving some clues, giving some information, cooperating with the police, so to speak. But where does it all lead to, right? So I really enjoyed this episode for that. And also it has a nice kind of build up to it when we learn about this woman, this grandmother, and her life, and what were her last moments like, as she was living with her grandson. I'm not going to lie to you people. I don't lie. But I have to say that this episode is pretty sad, right? Especially near the end. It's kind of a tearjerker kind of one. So if you are, obviously, the show is not for the faint of heart, but this episode especially is very, very sad, especially in the end when when you get to the final kind of twist, kind of the big reveal about what truly happened with a flashback. It's one for, it's one episode for the books, I guess, in terms of sadness. Even the previous one was pretty sad, but this one definitely is sad as well, right? But I really enjoyed how the whole episode goes, and I don't recall what was the grandmother's death ruled as. Perhaps it was just, yes, considered to be a normal death at the time since she was very old. So that's why it kind of got overlooked, it didn't get properly investigated. But then Lily is going to reopen the case as she's going to, get these phone calls and she might discover something as well. But really, really good episode. So perhaps we should move on to the actors, the cast members, and then eventually end this review with my final thoughts and my rating. So we have the main ones: Catherine Morris, Danny Pino, John Finn, Jeremy Ratchford, Tom Barry. And then we have the guest starring actors. We have Silas Weir Mitchell, who plays James Hogan, who was the grandson in 2003 of this woman who passed away, this elderly woman who died. And yes, you probably remember his name, Silas Weir Mitchell, who was in other TV shows, who was in Medium the next year, and who played Monroe on the TV show called Grimm from 2011 to 2017, if I'm not mistaken. A really nice TV show, and he was one of the main characters he played there. Then and he was really good in this episode as well, so it was really cool seeing him before he became, a main character in a TV show. He was really good in this episode as James Hogan. Then we have Christina Cox, who plays Sherry Stevens in 2003, who indeed, kind of drifted apart from him after all these years. So Christina Cox played Sherry Stevens in 2003 in the present time of the episode airing, right? So basically, she was his girlfriend at the time of his grandmother's passing. Then we have Lois Hole, who plays Crystal Hogan, the grandmother. We have Merritt Hicks, who plays Sherry Fox in 1989. So when she was with James, right? She's played by Merritt Hicks. Then we have Brent Huff, who plays Lonnie Gable, who was a friend, if I'm not mistaken, of James. I don't know if he was his friend or stepbrother or something like that. Something like a close relationship they had, but something happened in that regard. Then we have John Paul Pytok, who plays Brad Meyer, who is basically the new resident of the house, alongside with his wife, Dana Myers, who's played by Sarah Bueller. Then we have Jake Byrne, who plays James Hogan in 1989, Linda Castro, who plays Joanne Fink, and Steve Seagran, who played Tommy Burke, right? So I really enjoyed all these actors, but my favorite ones being Silas Weir Mitchell, Christina Cox, Lois Hole, Merritt Hicks, and Jake Byrne. The main characters, right? The present and past selves, right, of these characters, because usually you have different actors to play different actors at different times. You have different actors playing different characters at different times, since a lot of time has passed between the two, and they've aged, they're played by different actors. I don't know if I mentioned that, but I'm definitely doing so today. So yeah, really enjoyed this episode, Share Darlin. Really liked the whole mouse and cat kind of game, between the detective, the criminal and the detective. It's almost like he's baiting them or something at some point, or he's basically, trying to, do something that is maybe not very good. So you don't really know, not beyond scruple or something like that. So you don't really know exactly what is his motive. But as the end kind of happens, you kind of get to the final twist, and then you find out for yourselves what truly happened, the motive and why it happened, and you have some answers at least, right? But yeah, he doesn't seem like he's beyond scruples. Scruples. I forgot the term. He's not beyond scruples. Yes, it's bothering me a little bit. But anyhow, yes, so really enjoyed this episode. So if I were to rate this episode on a scale from 1 to 10, I'd definitely give it a 9 out of 10. It was a pretty good episode. Definitely one of my favorite episodes of the season, because it was good and it had a nice kind of development, a nice resolution. So I really enjoyed this episode called Share Darlin. So it's definitely one to remember by, and it is a good episode. So 9 out of 10 for me. What about you folks? What do you think about this episode? Let me know in the comment section down below. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you on the next review. In the meantime, folks, stay safe. Goodbye. Take care. This is the World of TV Show signing off.